You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 280, the real reason you're still stuck on your ex. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, beautiful brave hearts. How are you doing today? This episode is all about why you're still stuck on your ex and what to do about it. This one is one of the most powerful lessons I have ever shared, and it's the exact mindset shift that changed everything for me when I was struggling to move on. So if you're feeling stuck, know this. Just waiting for time to heal is not the answer, but today I'm going to show you what is. So we are going to be talking about why you're not over your ex, why you are still stuck on them, and what to do about it. Now, when we go through a breakup or a heartbreak of any kind, we are told that it's just going to take time. And I highly disagree. Time has nothing to do with it. I want you to think about how some people are feeling great about their breakup in a week or two or a couple months, right? Whereas some of us are still working through it over a year or maybe even 7 years, 10 years later. And if time has nothing to do with your broken heart and healing, what does? I also hear about the no contact rule, which we'll talk about in a later episode as well. I've talked about in multiple episodes prior to this, but some people go no contact and are still not over their ex. Meanwhile, people who haven't gone no contact are over their ex. Again, that is not the solution. It has and always will come down to one thing. And that one thing is our thoughts. It's our thoughts about the breakup, the beliefs that we tie to it, the sentences in our brain that keep us held back from moving on and getting over our ex. And there are a couple ways that we see this play out. The first is this. When I ask someone, why do you think you're not over him yet? Why do you feel like you're not over your ex yet? They come back to me and they might say something along the lines of, I still love this person. I just want to be with them. That person was my person, right? He or she was my person. We were meant to be together. Now, I want you to think about how you feel when you believe those are true thoughts. Those are true statements. It feels terrible, right? You feel miserable, depressed, sad, angry. And when you feel that way, you show up that way in the world. And when you feel that way, when you feel that, negative experience because you're thinking those thoughts when someone's no longer in your life, I want you to think about what you're doing and how you're showing up, right? Maybe you just stay in bed. Maybe you cry a lot, complain about what happened, talking about how terrible things are with your friends and your family. You're ruminating, which is just, constantly thinking about things, spinning about your ex. Ruminating about the memories, and your brain is just consumed with your ex and what could have been, right? Take a moment and think about a time when you were feeling really great, like so excited and energized about life. When you feel that way, how are you showing up? What are you doing, right? You're probably sharing and celebrating wins and successes, focused on your future, giddy about the opportunities in front of you. You show up and take different actions based on how you feel. And you feel a certain way based on the thoughts and the beliefs that you have about your breakup. So the way you think about your breakup will determine how you feel about your breakup. What? So good, right? So the way you think about your breakup will determine how you feel about your breakup. The quality of thoughts you have about your breakup will determine the quality of life that you live after your breakup. Whoa, mind-blowing moment. Insert mind-blowing emoji, right? The quality of thoughts you have about your breakup will determine the quality of life you live after your breakup. Now, here's the kicker. Our thoughts and beliefs in our life are 100% optional. This is not something I grew up knowing. This is something I had to learn. And oftentimes we list off our thoughts as if they are facts. And I know for myself, I was dating this guy for 7 years, where 1 month after our breakup, he was openly dating someone new on Facebook. And I had this belief, this thought that clearly he never loved me, because you don't do something like that to someone that you love, right? And when I would say that, I would list it off as if it was fact. But the moment I realized that that idea was actually optional, it was just something I made up, I was able to start questioning it. And I realized, like, wait a second, I love my mom and my dad equal parts at the same time. And I can totally love two people at the same time. It made me think maybe perhaps he did still love me. Like, he loved me while I was dating that same person, that new person. And it didn't also mean that he didn't love me throughout a relationship. Now, it doesn't change the fact that we're broken up and he's dating someone else, but it started to help me release the anger and the resentment that I had, and I started feeling calm. And eventually I even got to this place where I actually feel grateful for the experience and all that breakup brought to my life, which I know can feel really far away for someone who's currently just about going through their breakup. So don't feel like you have to make that jump today. Now, the second way I see thoughts appearing as like the reason you're still stuck on your ex is because of something called desire and attachment. Okay. Desire for a person or a place or a thing, attachment to a place, a person, or a thing. Both of those are created through the thoughts that we think. Desire for something can happen on a sliding scale. Attachment is a sliding scale, right? We can have no desire, some desire, strong desire for someone, something. And same thing with attachment. I'm sure you've heard maybe insecure attachment, anxious attachment, secure attachment. There's all these different forms of attachment. But all of it is determined based off of the way you think about someone or something. And for some of you, you might actually feel addicted to your ex, right? You notice compulsive like behaviors that feel very much out of character for you. Constantly looking at your phone to see if he or she has texted you, passing by his or her house, constantly thinking about this person. All of it feels outside of your control because a part of it is. It is a form of addiction. You can be addicted to your ex, and it's not your fault. It's not something to be ashamed of. It is a reward loop that was built in your brain, just like we do sometimes with food or substances. And this is so important to recognize because it can create a strong desire for, and when this is happening in your brain, when the reward loop is happening in your brain, what is taking place is it's creating this strong desire. And it's blocking out everything. It's saying, this is the most important thing in my life, and we're going to shut out focus on anything else. And all of which has been created based off of the way that you're thinking. So to undo it, we have to learn how to think differently, which is so exciting because this is something that we have control over. To make this realization that thoughts are the reason that we have high desire for, high attachment to our exes, and the way that we think about our breakup is creating how we feel after our breakup. Y'all, this is amazing. This gives us something tangible to do differently. Thoughts are keeping me stuck on my ex because the thoughts I think determine how I feel about my breakup, myself and my ex. The quality of my thoughts about my breakup are determining the quality of my current life experience and how I'm healing from my breakup. And my thoughts are what's in charge of the desire and attachment I have for my ex. So today, all you have to do is get really honest with yourself and ask yourself, why am I not over my ex? And then write down all the sentences that come from your brain. Recognize how those sentences make you feel. Take note as to how much desire it creates, how much attachment you feel to your ex when you believe those sentences are true. And you can even take it a step further if you feel like it by examining, how do I show up in the world when I'm feeling this way? Awareness is the very first step. It is the biggest step of looking at those thoughts, seeing what they're creating. Taking responsibility for the way that you feel can be intimidating, right? Terrifying, scary. But here's the thing. The moment we are aware of the problem is the moment we can actually take back control of the situation. And especially right now, you might feel so out of control. But the first thing that you get to do is build awareness around what is creating this problem. And that is going to help you take control of it. Now, to be the person who's totally over your ex, you have to actually start acting like that person and showing up like them. But to be able to act like them and show up like them, you must feel like the person who's over their ex. And to be able to feel that way, you have to start thinking like them. So the moment you start thinking new thoughts about your breakup, about your past relationship, about yourself, is the moment you're going to start feeling differently. And when you start feeling differently, you're going to start showing up differently. Work to identify yourself as the person who's over your ex. Identify yourself as someone who's truly not wanting to be in that relationship anymore. Because when you do that, things will naturally begin to change. You won't feel like you're white knuckling your way through your breakup. And if you're thinking, I shouldn't want to be with him, but I do, I would question that. Do you really want to be with that person who is that person right now today? Like who they are today, do I really want to be with that person? Do you really want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with you? I know that's a hard thing to accept, right? But what happens is you actually start to believe that you're just listing off facts when in reality they're thoughts. It's simply a sentence that you haven't questioned yet. It's a sentence that you have been choosing over and over and over again without realizing that it's a choice. And you've focused on it for so long now that you're identifying as someone who still wants to be with their ex. You identify as someone who shouldn't be with him or her, but is. You identify as someone who's trying to get over their ex rather than as someone who is over their ex. And those are two very different things. But what if you identified as the person who had their heart broken, but is strong AF and is totally moving forward from it? What if you identified as the person who finds the lesson in everything? The person who overcomes heartbreak in a completely new way? The person who goes out and creates the life they wanted with their ex, regardless of whether or not their ex is in their life? When you identify as that person, it's going to be easier to align your actions to your words. Because listen, your brain does not want to be saying one thing and doing another. Therefore, if you identify as this person, right, who's strong and is overcoming their heartbreak first, you start identifying as that person first, your brain will urge you to take action like that person. For me, I identified as someone who wasn't going to let this break her. I had no option but to go out and build a life that was bigger and better than the one that I had with him. And I made that my mission. I made that my identity first, right? My brain said, yes, we are going to build a life that is bigger and better than the one that we had with him, that we're committed, we're determined, that is what we're doing. And each day, I want you to wake up and confront your day with the attitude of what would this version of me who's over their ex do? Ask yourself that question about the big things, about the little things, and start showing up as that person from the identity and the thought first. So then that way it doesn't feel like you're white knuckling your way with action. Because here's what I want you to hear. Your life can be even better than the life that you had with your ex. I promise you. And even if you don't feel like that right now, stick with me and I will show you how. All right. I love you so much, Bravehearts. I hope you have an amazing day and I will talk to you next time. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.